Hi guys, my children are taking a nap, so let's make a coffee together before I tell you a crazy story time. Need a desperate kick of caffeine because my husband and I are going on our first date in 3 or 4 months. It's been a really crazy year, 2025. We actually moved out of state. Life's been crazy. But we're celebrating my birthday tonight and just celebrating us and his new job and our new success. I only use Chobani coffee creamer because the ingredients on everything else is just trash. So let's go into my living room, sit down, and let me tell you a crazy story. All right, we got the coffee in hand. And before I start and tell you guys the crazy story, let me set that coffee down. After this, I have to go finish getting ready for our date. I have my hair straightened. Yeah, I gotta go finish up while my kids are still sleeping, but I thought I should take the time to tell the story because it's a doozy. And I just thought it'd be really entertaining for all the moms especially. So, in, what year? So it was 2024, I gave birth to my oldest daughter, and I was 6 months postpartum at this time, and 3 months pregnant with my second daughter. My husband and I did have our kids very close in age. They're literally 365 days apart, and if you have anything negative to say about that, I don't really care. We wanted children super close in age. So that we could be done. And yeah, we want, we still want another one, at least one more, maybe two. And they're probably going to be back to back too if we decide to have 4 instead of 3. But let me jump into the story. So I'm 3 months pregnant and 6 months postpartum. And at this point, I was almost 4 months pregnant. I was like a week from being technically 4 months pregnant. Yeah. So I was 3 months, but I was almost 4 months pregnant. And so, your hormones are just absolutely crazy at this point. And my husband, myself, and my daughter, we go into our local Kroger's. This is when we lived in Michigan. I'm so sorry, the coffee burp. We lived in Michigan at the time. That's where I was born and raised. This is such a crazy story. I can't believe I'm telling this. So we go to our Kroger's and we're grocery shopping. We're just getting, really we're there for formula, but we were like, while we're here, let's get like some meats for dinner and all the good stuff. So we have maybe like 100 items, not 100, I have $100 worth of stuff in our cart. So a couple things of formula, a couple other things, a couple are basics. Sorry, I don't know why my glasses are so crooked and it's distracting me. So I'm actually just gonna go ahead and take those right off because that's really distracting. So we're at Kroger's, we're shopping. We're not in the Kroger's in our town, but it was like the second closest one. We were in a town called Ypsi, a city called Ypsi. And we're grocery shopping. My daughter is in her car seat, so she's literally just doing this. She's chewing on one of her car seat straps because we had her unstrapped sitting in the cart, but she was still in her car seat. But we unbuckled her so she'd be like a little more comfortable. And I'm pushing the cart and my husband's like putting the stuff in the cart. This worker walks up to us. She was probably the same age as my mother. So not an old woman by any means, but definitely much older than myself. She walks up to me and she starts scolding me on my parenting because germs are everywhere. and how dare you let her chew on that. And she goes like this, and she takes the strap out of my daughter's mouth. So at this point, she's like this, and she pulls, and she was like, you need to get her toys. And she had a toy in her cart too. She had a teething toy in her cart. And I said, she does actually. She has a chew right in here. She just wanted to chew on the strap. I was so flabbergasted. Like, I can't believe I didn't start like screaming. I can't believe I didn't fight this woman for touching my child, honestly. And part of me wishes I would have. I was beyond livid. My husband didn't even see it. I forget what he was doing. He was right by me, but he wasn't paying attention. He was like looking at something. And she just scolds me. And, oh no, I'm sorry. We were by the checkout at this point, and my husband was really focused on, like, he was trying to get the card to work. It was like a whole thing. And so my daughter and myself are like standing off to the side of my husband. We were close, but we were like off to the side. And she was like, there's germs everywhere. She's gonna get sick. That's not acceptable. And she doesn't need to be chewing on things anyway. And I said, ma'am, she's 6 months old and teething, so she's gonna chew on things. And she walked away. And I didn't say anything. I just was kind of like, we go out at this point to our car. My husband and I, we're just not talking. And he finally was like, what's wrong? And I started crying. I was really emotional, and I couldn't believe this woman had put her, like, she had went like this, you know what I'm saying, and took something out of my child's mouth, and I couldn't comprehend that. I told him what happened, and he's furious. And if it had been a male employee, my husband probably would have turned around. We were not happy. So I decided that I was going to do something that I just don't do. I don't ever call and report anybody. I've worked customer service ever since I started working. Now I'm a stay-at-home mom, a housewife. But before that, that's all I did with customer service. So I called the Krogers, and I was really upset. And the manager was so dismissive with me, and he said, well, did she touch your child or touch her stuff? There's a difference. And I said, well, the thing that she touched was in my child's mouth. So she very much touched my child, and this is not acceptable. And he said, okay, well, I'll look into it. And then he just hung up on me. So at this point, I'm upset. I'm furious. I don't know why anybody doesn't care. I posted on Facebook. I was so mad, and I rattled off the entire story and the interaction I had with the manager. I had an old friend that I forgot. I didn't even remember that we were still friends on Facebook, because she was more of an old acquaintance, but she was a nice woman. We would chat and stuff when I seen her in public. But she was my old boss years ago when I worked at Taco Bell when I was 18, 19. I worked at Taco Bell for 2 weeks. That's another story. And she saw what I posted. I forgot she had actually worked at that Kroger's. And so she was really upset. And she was she private messaged me. And she was like, Lindsay, I'm going to get to the bottom of this. This is really unacceptable behavior. And I'm so sorry that this happened. And she's also a mother. She's like, this is unacceptable. So she ended up going into the office, and she talked to a different manager than I had spoke with, and he was absolutely mortified. And it did get corrected. I was told that woman was actually pulled into the office, and she was written up and scolded. Here's my thing. Not only do I think it's wildly inappropriate for anyone to tell a new mother at that, what they should and shouldn't be doing. Unless, of course, my child was at immediate risk. Not only do I think that's wildly inappropriate, but she put her hands on my child, and that was my that was my big thing. Obviously I didn't like the fact that she made me feel like a shit mom, and I was very new at being a mother. But it was that. So I'm glad that it got corrected, but I still think about it from time to time, because holy shit, someone put their hands on my 6-month-old daughter and then they still had teeth afterwards. So the moral of the story is always stand up for what is right, stand up for your children, and don't correct people in public like that. It was really unnecessary. She in that moment was acting like my mother, and my mother would have some tact and decency to not belittle my parenting in such a way. Like if she had a problem with something I would do, she'd be like, hey Lindsay, like let's get her a teething ring, honey, da 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 da. Which I want to reiterate again, she did have teething rings. She just chose to chew on that particular thing. My daughter chewing on her car seat strap for 2 seconds was not the end of the world. She was being monitored. That woman complaining about the germs that my child was, taking part in. Like, why'd you just touch my child? Because you just give her your germs. If you want to talk about germs. So, yeah. Let's not put our hands on other people's children or catch hands. So that's my story time, guys. But I hope you guys have an awesome rest of your day. I'm going to finish drinking this coffee, maybe watch an episode of Bridgerton because it's been fantastic and I don't know what took me so long. And just enjoy my children still sleeping. I'm sure you heard my oldest in the background. She likes to do this thing now where she'll pass out for a second and then she'll wake back up immediately. And then she'll back out. So I know she's back out. So I just have to touch the makeup up a little bit. I'm going to put on a really cute top and everything and just make myself a little more presentable. Probably re-straighten pieces of my hair because if you're a mom, then you have to have it up at all times or it's going to get ripped out of your skull. So, but all right, guys. Until later. See you later.